our tech expert Duncan is joining me in studio. He's going to unpack the ruling in the Vodacom Please Call Me case. Now, this was a very hot topic this week, so I'm very interested to hear what Duncan has to say. Duncan, thank you for sitting down with me.
I'm very glad to sit down with you.
Well, like I said, it was a hot topic this week, but for those people who don't really know what we're talking about, why don't you briefly take us through what the Vodacom Please Call Me case is?
Okay, it's a long history lesson. I'm not going to bother you with the history lesson. Essentially, almost everybody at some point has used the whole please call me.
Right.
And then that person that you send it to, hopefully a friend or relative, will call you back. The please call me text is free, but the call back creates revenue.
Right.
Somebody had to come up with that idea.
Right.
Right. So Nkosana Makate, he came up with the idea.
He was a Vodacom employee.
And yeah, at the time he was a Vodacom employee. He worked in the finance department. And he came up with the idea because he often didn't have airtime to call, so he came up with this idea of sending a text and getting somebody to call you back. And a Vodacom employee, the head of product at the time, to make a long story short, promised him some kind of financial compensation.
Right.
It never came. So he sued, saying
as
that...
anyone would. Right?
As anyone would,
if you're
right?
promised financial compensation and you don't get it.
Right, so he sued. And the judge, Judge Coppen, this week dismissed that case on a very specific ground. People think that this case was dismissed because Vodacom applied pressure or strong-armed the courts. Or so.
Right.
It wasn't like that at all. The judge found that the person who made the promise for compensation wasn't authorized to do so. So if I promise you, hey Jen, you are so fantastic as a news presenter here at News 24, you could deserve a fantastic getaway holiday for two in the Bahamas. You may love that,
right,
but I'm not authorized
that.
to make that promise. And that's what the judge found, that the plaintiff had not been able to prove that the person who made the promise of compensation was authorized to do so by the company, even though that same person was later appointed a director of the company. The judge even found that the one director alone cannot make an agreement that binds a company financially. That power is only given to the board collectively, which comprises, of course, of multiple directors.
Well,
so that was the case.
Okay, so what do we take away from this?
Right, so the first takeaway is, get it in writing, right? If somebody promises you something, get it in writing, locked down, so you know that there's a contract in place, and so that you don't get screwed over. The second thing is, any person, in South Africa, the general practice is that any person who works for a company and comes up with an idea while employed in that company, generally the company owns the intellectual property to that idea anyway. So you don't really have a case. If you think you have a brilliant idea and you work for a company, the best way to do it would be to resign your job, start another company, and then implement that idea and sell it back to your old company. That seems to be a way.
That's interesting that you say that. Now, does this person still work? It obviously doesn't still work at Vodacom. And so he obviously isn't getting paid for Please Call Me. I think the ruling also ruled that he must pay Vodacom's legal fees.
Yeah, so that is a big deal, right? This court was argued over a number of years. Vodacom employed their own team of attorneys. Makate, in fact, also had a team of attorneys that decided they're going to fight the case on his behalf, no doubt because they saw a bigger payday. Yeah. He wanted at some point, the claim was as high as over 6 billion rand. So we're talking about really big money at stake here. But I mean, you can speculate, but I would guess that Vodacom's legal fees are anywhere between 5 and 10 million rand. And I don't know how he's going to pay that back, because that's a huge, huge number. You know, especially if you were suing for money in the first place.
Jeez.
Interestingly, I just want to add a twist to this entire Please Call Me case. So this case was between, of course, Makate and Vodacom. But interestingly, Ari Khan, who works for MTN, registered the Please Call Me as a patent on behalf of MTN. And in this entire case, this MTN patent, the elephant in the room, was not mentioned. It just didn't exist. So I find that really an interesting twist to this debate between a guy who worked at Vodacom,
Right.
who built Please Call Me, and they're suing each other over it, yet the patent is held by a rival
Now,
competitor.
could this implicate a future battle between MTN and Vodacom over
No.
everyone's Please Call Me?
No, I don't think, the cell phone operators, they work on economies of scale. They work with really racing to roll out networks to generate profit. They are not going to distract themselves with this kind of petty fight, in which there will be no winners. It's like the Australian research organization invented, I think it's Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I think it was Wi-Fi they invented. But Wi-Fi is now such a global standard. Everybody uses Wi-Fi. You don't think about, well, who invented
it,
Wi-Fi,
it
and
doesn't matter.
we can't use it because it's
Right.
become a standard. And when things are a standard like that, it's pointless to argue and debate it, because it's going to be a legal black hole. You're just going to throw money into it, and you're not really going to get any joy at all.
Cool, Duncan. Well, thanks for unpacking that for us. Let us know if you think the ruling in the Vodacom Please Call Me case was fair in the comments section below this video.